Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another session of The Sanctuary. This is our space for reflection, growth, and connection. I'm your girl and guide, Mariah Miles, licensed therapist, ordained minister, and overall creative. And I'm so excited to continue our exploration of connection this month. And today's session will focus on the essential theme of building connection with ourselves. And of course, we continue to follow along with the prompts from my journal, Busy Minds, Peaceful Hearts. So sit back, relax. It's time to tune in. Before we can nurture meaningful relationships with others, we must first establish a really strong connection with ourselves. And this involves a sense of self-awareness, self-acceptance, understanding our needs. And so I really want to dive into what it means to connect with ourselves and how this foundation can really influence our relationships and overall well-being. But the first question that came to me is, but why is self-connection so important? And so I've been sitting with this, and I believe when we truly know ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our desires, we can engage with the world more authentically. And the more I considered it, it almost felt privileged, elitist. Because it's worth noting that this emphasis on self-connection often stems from these cultural values, right? Like in many Western societies, well, particularly in America, there's this strong focus on individualism and self-actualization. I think that we're encouraged to explore our identities, pursue our passions, prioritize self-care. But again, even in that construct, it is privileged and elitist because not every group in America gets to do that. But this cultural narrative suggests that self-connection is essential for personal growth and fulfillment. But what I really want to know, is it universally important? And I think, yeah, because while the specifics may vary, many cultures really recognize the value of understanding oneself. So, for an example, in a collectivist culture, self-connection might be tied to one's role within the community and relationships with others. But what I really find interesting is that, regardless of cultural context, self-connection allows for greater emotional awareness and resilience. It is our why. It helps us build confidence and set healthy boundaries so that we can foster healthier relationships with others. So is it really selfish? Self-connection allows us to not only understand our emotions more, because we can tune into our feelings so that we can respond to them more effectively instead of being so reactive, so impulsive. Knowing who we are helps us stand firm in our values and decisions, right? It allows us to foster a sense of empowerment, and that right there builds our confidence, which strengthens the community. And when we're aware of our needs and limits, we can communicate them effectively so that we can create those healthier relationships with others. and it allows us to set healthy boundaries. So just take a moment and think about it. How often do we rush through life without taking that moment to check in with ourselves? Because it's one thing to talk about it, but how realistic is the expectation in your everyday life? Most of us, I feel like, we wouldn't neglect a friend's needs. And quite on the contrary, I sit with many clients who are quote unquote people pleasers. We want to make sure everyone around us is good. So if we wouldn't neglect a friend's needs, it's equally important to not overlook our own. So let's practice. Let's tune in and drop into the breath. I invite you to inhale slowly, deeply through your nose. And maybe you open your mouth and exhale even slower. Feeling the weight of it just kind of drift out. So how can we cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves? Recently, I had this experience that kind of was like, oh, okay, this is happening for me right in this moment. Because I was having a conversation with somebody and I started to feel a sense of discomfort, this sense of irritation that was rising up within me. And it wasn't that we were having an argument, but something about the energy of the conversation was activating these old patterns in me. And I got to tell you, I love the fact that I was kind of noticing it in the moment. But I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was at first. And I realized that I needed to step back. I just needed to take a break. So I apologized and just kind of told the person, I need some time alone. I need to call you later. I need to talk to you later. And afterward, I took a moment to really sit with what was happening inside me. I recognized that I was slipping into a role that I had played before. And I think that this often happens with our family of origin, right? We might think that, oh, I'm good over here doing my thing. And then we get roped back into our family and then everyone falls back into the roles that, happened decades before. But that role it's one of the things that no longer serves me. It doesn't align with who I am becoming or who I am in this moment. And that realization created a physical discomfort, a tightness in my chest, a pressure in my head. And this experience reminded me of how important it is to connect with ourselves, with myself, and really understand our emotions. Because it's all too easy to fall back into the familiar habits of thought and behavior that don't reflect our true selves. We've all been there. And so what helped me was taking that pause. I decided to meditate first because that's what kind of felt good for me in the moment, just to allow myself to clear my mind and create some space. And then when I was good with that, when that felt complete, I allowed myself to journal my feelings. And that brought me a lot of clarity. I got to observe my thoughts and emotions without judgment. And had I not given myself that space, I might not have really understood what was going on. And that practice of self-reflection was really incredibly revealing. And so here's what I believe to be a key strategy for building self-connection. Mindful reflection. By taking the time to understand what we're feeling and why, we can break free from those patterns that no longer serve us. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to put in that work. So, to help you put in that work, I have created some practical steps to help you embrace this process. Because you really do got to embrace this process. Sometimes there can be discomfort, right? So, number one, like I said, mindful reflection. I encourage you to set aside some time each day to check in with your emotions. Just, asking yourself, how am I feeling today? I really do think that journaling is a powerful tool for us to explore those emotional aspects that we might be sweeping under the rug. Number two, self-awareness practices. So engaging in activities that really promote self-awareness, like meditation or mindful walking. And I think it depends also on your mood. But these practices can help you really tune into your thoughts and feelings. Number three, identify your patterns. Start to pay attention to these reoccurring thoughts or behaviors that arise and challenge situations, right, that activate you. Recognizing these patterns can help you understand how they impact your emotional state. Number four, create space for reflection. So allowing yourself to, again, pause and reflect on these difficult interactions as I did, this can prevent you from reacting impulsively and provide you with that sense of clarity. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. This is a process. And lastly, celebrate your growth, right? Acknowledging the progress you make that you're making really helps build that deeper connection with yourself, right? Because you can almost quantitate it. And because it doesn't happen overnight, when we start to see a big shift or somebody comments on it, that feels supportive, right? To be seen in that way. So can you see yourself in that way? So let's take a moment to integrate what we've been talking about. It's that time for our somatic practice. This is a grounding posture that really promotes stability and self-awareness. And today it's a standing position. So I encourage you to find a space that feels right for you. Allow it to be a comfortable space for you to stand with your feet hip-width apart. And maybe you're wearing shoes, or maybe you're in your socks or barefoot. So if you're able, I invite you to stand with us. And if not, perhaps you lie down. And allow yourself to ground your feet into the floor if you're standing. Feeling your connection to the earth. And as you stand, roll your shoulders up and back and down, allowing yourself to stand a little bit taller. allowing your chest to open. Allow your chin to be slightly tucked or parallel with the floor. And perhaps as your arms are by your side, maybe you face your palms out forward. And take a deep breath in through your nose, feeling your body expand. Holding that posture, feeling strong and steady. With each inhale, imagine drawing in confidence and self-awareness. And with each exhale, releasing any doubts or negative thoughts. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Slow and steady. And just continue noticing your breath here in this way. Just continue to tune into the breathing, noticing where the breath flows. And when you're ready, gently returning to a relaxed standing position, allowing your breath to return to its natural state. Bringing this sense of groundedness and self-connection with you. Maybe pressing the edges of your feet into the earth beneath you, feeling that support. And if you like, you can pause the recording and continue to be in this space. But tune in. What is it that you need in this moment? As we conclude today's session, I want to share a little bit more about my journey. I was kind of going back and forth. Do I share this? Do I not share this? But I'm going to share it. But I've been feeling a little burnt out with the podcast lately. And I've realized that some of this burnout comes from my creative energy kind of feeling stagnant. And so I had created this podcast to accompany my journal. And while I value this consistency of producing these episodes, there's this part of me that feels ready to explore something new. And maybe that's just because I'm constantly inspired and excited and wanting to work on many different projects, but I'm also really into completion of projects. And this is a pretty lengthy project for sure. And so I feel like that it's a delicate balance, right? On one hand, consistency is important for growth and accountability. But on the other hand, the urge to create something fresh and innovative can feel overwhelming when we're kind of locked into a routine, creating that stagnant energy. But something about recognizing this tension within me has allowed me to reflect more on my experience and the importance of nurturing my creative energy. I think it's a reminder that while routines can ground us, and let me tell you, I love a good routine, it's equally vital to make space for exploration and new ideas. So anyways, as I navigate these life complexities, I'm inviting you to navigate them with me. And I'm going to allow myself the grace to be imperfect and to evolve organically. And I hope that you give yourself the same. And I think it's through these moments of vulnerability and what next feeling that we talked about before, that we often discover some of our greatest strengths, some of our greatest insights. And by embracing that desire for creativity, it might lead me to some new exciting paths if I let it. And so I guess some of the reflection is just noticing that that's coming up for me, and instead of pushing it away, just sitting with it to see what it's trying to tell me, trying to teach me. But of course, as I navigate this journey of balancing my creative energy and the consistent work of the podcast, I'm going to keep sharing what that process looks like and how it unfolds, because if it's in alignment and it feels intentional with our discussions, I think that it can really enrich our conversations and foster a deeper connection. And it feels like a parallel process, right? Where I'm talking about something and then it's occurring in my life. I find this happens in my therapeutic process with clients too, right? I might be working on something and I might get a bunch of clients that have similar things coming up in their life that they're working on. So it's definitely a balance. And so, I invite you to join me, like I said, in this parallel process. Maybe you're having, or maybe not, but let's explore whether it's through your own creative projects or maybe just simply reflecting on your path, so that we can embrace these ebbs and flows of inspiration and growth together. And so we're going to wrap up today's session. But I encourage you to reflect on the importance of building connections with ourselves. Maybe your takeaway might be to remember that knowing who you are allows you to engage more authentically in the world. So I encourage you to take some time this week to practice one of the strategies that we discussed. And maybe embrace that journey of self-discovery and recognize that nurturing this connection is so vital for your overall well-being. Thank you for joining me today on whatever platform you are on. I hope this session inspires you to deepen your relationship with yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a session here at the Sanctuary. Until next time, y'all, embrace each breath. And remember, our bodies have this innate wisdom, the beautiful ability to heal itself. And we heal best in community. Love and light. Peace, y'all. While this podcast may feel like a therapeutic conversation, it is important to note that it is not a substitute for professional therapy or mental health. The information shared here is intended solely for educational purposes and should not be used as a replacement for personalized mental health care. Although I am a therapist, I'm not acting as your therapist in this setting. If you are in need of support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional.